Happy New Year. Time to review step number 46 of the 67 steps by Tai Lopez. I'm really benefiting a lot from forcing myself to really explain these lessons to you in my own words. I'm finding it a lot more difficult than it may seem, but through the difficulty I'm having a huge benefit, because I've actually listened to a few of these lessons without practicing the explanation like this, and they don't quite stick as much. The ideas aren't drilled into my head as much as hearing myself explain them, so I'm benefiting a lot from doing those. But this one was called Allan Nation's 1,000 Sheep and Not Doing It Small: Scalability and Expansion. And the takeaway of this lesson is that to have any impact in any area of life, you need to have scalability. You need to be able to replicate your success to the hundreds and to the thousands and to the millions. If you have a product, service, or message and only 10 people are hearing it, it's not going to be as impactful. It's not going to make you as wealthy as if 10 million people hear your message. You know, over the course of having a business for the past few years, I've learned about the basic principle of a sales funnel. Starts at the top and gets more narrow down at the bottom. Not everyone that hears about your business or visits your storefront is going to buy from you, but the larger the amount of people that do, the larger that 18% becomes that we mentioned in a previous lesson, where you just need to get 18% of people that visit your store or your website to buy from you. But let me just stay focused on this. You know, an example of a company that really represents scalability is Apple. I'm using my iPhone to film this video. You're probably watching this video on your iPhone. And you know, Apple has sold approximately 2.2 billion iPhones since they first started selling them in 2007. Now, they didn't go from zero to selling 2.2 billion. The first thing they did was invest a huge amount of overhead into the development, the research of developing the iPhone. You know, they had to outsource the computer chip. They had to figure out where they were going to get the plastic to make it. They had to figure out their marketing message, probably spending hundreds of millions of dollars developing it. But that only was for the upfront cost. Then they were able to sell the phone for, you know, $500 to $1,000 each over and over and over again. And one basic principle I've learned in business is big businesses sell one product over and over and over again at ever decreasing costs without the erosions of margins. And you know, the same idea with this scalability is kind of personified through Tai's book a day mentality, or whatever you call it. You know, he's infamous for reading a book a day. A lot of people say that that's impossible, but I've noticed a lot of people that say things are a scam have never tried it. Now, obviously, Tai didn't start off reading a book a day. He started off more realistic, more manageable, more sustainable, reading a book a month, and then increase that to reading a few books a month, book a week, few books a week, into a book a day. And now he can even read a few books a day. And, you know, he gives the example of if you wanted to quit your day job and be a full-time sheep farmer, how would you do it? What you don't do is try to go from zero to making a huge leap. You don't just buy 500 sheep and try to immediately have the business take off. What you do is you start small, start with 5 sheep, and build up automation and systems that enable you to be the most time efficient with those few sheep at a time, and you know, treat those 5 sheep as if they're part of the 500. You know, instead of just spending an hour with each of the 5 sheep, even though you have plenty of time at the beginning, automate it to the point where you can get through each sheep in just 5 minutes. And by the time you have done that and gotten all the kinks out early, you'll be able to get the 500 and quit your day job. And you know, this kind of reminds me of the idea of the lean startup by Eric Ries. He has an idea basically where first thing you want to do when you're developing a product is develop what's called a minimum viable product. Because he says, before you spend a lot of time in research and development and overhead trying to create a product, you first want to see if anyone even wants this thing. So you build kind of a prototype and see if people want to buy it before you proceed. And you know, another example of someone that's doing this scalability is Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's known for a few different careers, but the first of his careers was when he was a bodybuilder in Austria. He started in his teenage years working out for 45 minutes or so a day, and eventually when he immigrated to America, California, and became Mr. Olympia, he actually got to the point where he could exercise for up to 6 hours a day as it became necessary. And certainly no one can say Arnold Schwarzenegger hasn't had huge impact in both the movie business and the fitness business. But Ty gives one more example of, if you want to have a lot of influence, no matter what, whether you like it or not, you're going to need to be a public speaker, either in front of on the internet like this, or even more impactful and effective as being in front of people in person. And he says, you know, it can be very intimidating to do public speaking right off the bat in front of hundreds of people or thousands of people, so you don't do that. Everything starts small. So he says what you really want to do is invite your friends over, 4 or 5 or 10 of your friends that you're familiar with, that you can practice your public speaking in front of, so that you can get the experience with no downside. You know, another practical example he gives along these same lines is visit a nursing home, even if it's not a relative of yours or a friend of yours that's residing there, but just ask if you can speak in front of these elderly people, just to get the kinks out and get your kind of traction going and build up your skill set. These residents will be appreciative that you visit them, and you'll benefit by getting the practice of speaking in front of real life people that aren't overly critical. But his lessons at the end of this episode are, what is an example where you ignored this rule and you stayed so small that eventually you got discouraged? What's an example where you jumped right into 1,000 sheep and got burned or crashed? What's a simple idea you can start practicing on 5 sheep? Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on review number 47. Take care.